Since the pandemic began, we've seen an increase in the number of people who are in need of financial assistance for funeral services. Fortunately, they found us. The People's Memorial community is a compassionate group of people who are willing and able to help people during the most difficult and stressful time of their lives. In 2021, we supported 27 families, a record breaking number, thanks to you, our generous donors, and to the Sparkjoy Foundation. 2022 shows no sign of slowing down, and we're set to surpass that number. Although the spirit of the Financial Assistance Fund is more than just numbers, it's about the individual people and the friends and family members grieving their loss. The experience a person has with a funeral home has a great impact on the health of their grief. We've asked our board members to share with you some of the individual stories of the people impacted by your support. Let's listen.
Linda's parents were married for 62 years and shared a love for the outdoors. This tight-knit family had little money, yet an abundance of love and loyalty for each other. So when Linda's parents fell ill, she became their caregiver, dividing her time between caring for one parent at home and the other at the hospital. While she had support from hospice, she was unable to work at her regular job for 8 months. Her parents died within 6 weeks of each other, making Linda the first to receive financial assistance from the PMA for 2 family members. This assistance helped to provide dignified services while not plunging herself into funeral debt with the sudden costs of care. She said, quote, "Having financial assistance was the best godsend because otherwise I wouldn't have had the money to have them cremated. I don't know what I have done."
Issues of housing insecurity and addiction come up again and again, echoing the widespread problems in the country that have been only further amplified by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Through this fund, we are sending a message to those who are grieving from a stigmatized death that they are worthy of respect in the wake of their loss.
Jennifer sought financial assistance for her father's arrangements. When we asked Jennifer what her dad was like, she said he was a great father. He adopted her and her older brother when she was 2 years old and did everything a dad should do. He taught her how to ride a bike, tie her shoes, fish, and play slow-pitch softball. He took the time to be a dad. After separating from Jennifer's mom, her father developed an addiction. Jennifer wanted me to share that 2 things about a person can be true. He was both a great father and he had an addiction. Later in life, he moved to Spokane to live with Jennifer. His addiction eventually brought him to the hospital, where he died the day before her birthday. At this same time, Jennifer's son was sick in that same hospital, so it felt like everything hit her at once. She found PMA while searching the internet for financial assistance for funeral arrangements. What Jennifer said at this point during the interview was striking. She identified as being low income and assumed that most folks who receive assistance from this fund have little resources to access like her. She said that often people with low incomes are treated as less than human when they have to admit they need some financial help when working with a business. But that every person she worked with at PMA and our partnering funeral home in Spokane made her feel like a regular person. To feel less shame and to feel respect during an incredibly difficult time is a powerful thing that this fund is providing. No one asked her unnecessary questions or judged her because of her father's addiction. The whole process was easy and transparent. She was treated with respect, and she knew her father's body would be treated with respect as well. Jennifer's story is an important one because it sheds light on stigmatized death, which is when someone dies tragically from something like suicide, addiction, or more recently, COVID-19. Those who are grieving feel shame, guilt, even anger over why their person died, so they might keep details of the death and their grief a secret because of it. We'd like to acknowledge that regardless of the way someone dies, we believe they and their loved ones deserve dignity and respect from the funeral home and their community. Jennifer leaves us with a quote. Despite his addiction, he was a good man. I was feeling guilty at first because I wasn't there the moment he died, but the memories I have of him are good. That's what matters to me. Laura Takux, clinical social worker, says, in my experience as a clinical social worker who provides counseling specifically to those bereaving the death of a loved one, my clients often share with me the support they received from funeral home staff has significantly impacted their grief and trauma. When compassion and acknowledgement of the pain felt after losing someone is easily provided, the impact is often long-lasting and healing.
Arthur reconnected with his daughter after losing everything to a catastrophic wildfire. When he came back to his daughter, he had been struggling with medical vulnerabilities and chronic homelessness for years. Unable to care for him in the way he needed, his daughter placed him in assisted living. As you can imagine, the level of care was an important financial investment for his daughter who wanted to do the right thing. When it came time to pay for his funeral arrangements, she needed some help. And this family did not go through this alone because the PMA Financial Assistance Fund was there to support them.
Teresa was in a 24-month inpatient treatment program when her mother died. Losing her mother to addiction while she was in treatment herself tested her strength and sobriety. Teresa attributes her ability to weather this devastating loss to her newfound faith, which provided her the courage and determination she so needed. Teresa felt the support she received from PMA and the partnering funeral home was compassionate and understanding. Since handling her mother's funeral arrangements was made less stressful through this fund, she was able to continue with her classes and stay focused. Teresa is happy to report that she graduated with honors in June. She was hired by a local business and moved into transitional housing in July. She says, without the assistance from PMA, I would not have been able to get healed and healthy all the way. I recently reunited with my 3 children and 8 grandchildren. And from the bottom of my heart, and I have a pretty big one, thank you so very much, and God bless you all.
Many who apply for assistance are young mothers who are vulnerable enough to share with us that paying for their parents' cremation would put feeding their children or paying for their rent at risk.
Robin's professor wrote to us on her behalf, advocating for her student who needed financial assistance for her father's funeral arrangements. Robin is a single mother who recently broke the cycle of homelessness and is pursuing an associate's degree in applied science. Working hard to get on her own 2 feet, Robin wasn't prepared for the sudden cost of her father's funeral arrangements after his unexpected death. As his only next of kin, the responsibility of handling the arrangements was all hers. But fortunately, she wasn't alone in this. By receiving financial assistance, paying for her father's cremation didn't create another barrier for her while she tries her best to be a good mother and outstanding student. Through this fund, we made a positive investment in her and her child's future.
One of the many hospice social workers we hear from. She told us of a patient of hers named Valerie who was in hospice at her facility for a month and was still awaiting approval for state assistance for in-home care. Her patient Valerie's decline was much faster than anyone anticipated, and she passed before being approved for the necessary caregiver support. Valerie's 3 children were not prepared financially or physically to care for their mother. One of them was raising 4 young children herself. Anna was moved to do what she could to help the family through an incredibly difficult and stressful time. So she applied for financial assistance on behalf of Valerie's family.
This video is made in memory of the 22 people who have been supported by the Financial Assistance Fund so far in 2022. They range from 28 to 92 years, with a variety of backgrounds and experiences. Most of the people are from Spokane, King, and Island counties because our community partners in those regions are aware of this resource and work to ensure the people who need it are able to access it. We asked a staff member from our funeral home partner in Oak Harbor to share how this fund is supporting her community. This is what she said.
Elizabeth has been working at Whidbey Memorial Funeral and Cremation Service since July of 2018. She says, PMA's Financial Assistance Fund provides a means for us to give quality service to many families who might not otherwise be able to afford it. There have been so many times I've heard discouragement and hopelessness in a voice over the phone, and they express such relief when I share about the PMA fund as an option. Many low-income families are squeaking by, barely paying the bills. When a death occurs, not only is it devastating emotionally, but for many, the stress of the financial expense is overwhelming. There are surprisingly few funding options available under these circumstances. I have been very dismayed and shocked at how few and limited the funding options are. Whidbey Memorial is a small funeral home owned by a single individual. It's difficult for us to absorb the cost of cremation services that go unpaid. For instance, I had one family that lost 3 family members within a 2-year period. I was so happy and honored to walk with this family through this terrible situation. I was grateful that we were able to obtain the financial assistance they needed so that at least the financial burden did not weigh on them and extend the tragedy of it over a longer period. I just want to say thank you for the funding program. It is a huge need. Here on Whidbey Island, there are no alternatives. I hope this fund continues for many years to come.
This fund has become increasingly important over the past few years, and we're proud to be providing crucial financial assistance for funeral arrangements across the many miles of Washington. The staff and board of directors at People's Memorial want to extend our deepest gratitude for your support. The work we're doing together is changing lives and deaths.